Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I feel like it's been a little bit since we cooked. Now I'm going to teach you how to make spinach and artichoke stuffed chicken. First, you're going to need 2 pounds of chicken breast. This is 4 breasts with I cut the tenders off. Then you're going to need 8 ounces of cream cheese. This happens to be whipped cream cheese and you want it softened. Then you're going to need a ½ cup of shredded mozzarella cheese, as well as a ¼ cup of Parmesan cheese. Grated is better. And then you're going to need some frozen chopped spinach. You need 4 ounces of it. This is a 12-ounce bag. I took about half the bag out, so it ended up being about 6 ounces. You want it thawed, and then you want to drain it. And you're also going to need 6 ounces of artichoke hearts, which is about half of this jar. This is from Aldi, which is in water and drained. Then you're going to need a tablespoon of minced garlic. Again, this is from Aldi. I just get whatever I can get. You're going to need 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning, and that's approximate because, you know, maybe you don't like that much. And then optional, if you want to make the sauce, you're going to need a cup of milk or half and half. Salt and pepper to taste for both seasoning the chicken as well as the dip. And the paprika is also optional, a teaspoon of smoked or mild paprika. And then a cutting board, measuring cups, bowl, colander, all the things. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the spinach and we're going to drain it. Like I said, this is a 12-ounce bag that I got from Walmart. It had the hardest time trying to find chopped spinach, guys. I'm telling you, 2 weeks I was looking. So this wasn't quite defrosted because I didn't want to defrost it and then freeze it again. So I took some frozen spinach and I put it in the colander over a bowl and I ran hot water over it. And then I drained it. And like I said, I took half the bag out, and this is a 12-ounce bag, so this is probably more than 4 ounces, but it still works out just fine. So now this recipe that we're going to do first is actually spinach artichoke dip. Like, you could put it in a baking dish and bake it, and it's awesome, and dip it with chips like you get at a restaurant. So this is actually like a twofer recipe. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that aside. I take some paper towels and I push it down on the spinach to soak it basically from the top as well. Then you're going to dump it in the bowl. And then with the colander as well, I'm going to drain off half the jar of artichokes. Get your chopping board and your knife, and be careful with artichoke hearts. They can kind of be slippery. If you're more comfortable cutting with a kitchen scissor, then I would do that. If you're not as comfortable cutting with a knife, or if you're more comfortable cutting with like a little paring knife or steak knife, you can go ahead and do that as well. Whatever makes it more comfortable for you, but you really want to try to chop these down because these are artichoke quarters, so they're kind of big. So you want to go ahead and chop them down as well. All right, and like I said, if you're not comfortable with the big chef's knife and stuff, then you go ahead and you do however you need to cut them down. Okay. Now, while I'm cutting these, I'm just going to give you a little bit of behind the scenes of this. Emily from Texas, hi Em, she sent this to me via a Facebook recipe. She said she found it on Facebook. She said we have to try it this weekend when I was staying with her. And we did, except all I have is the actual recipe. So I'm not really sure where it came from. She said she saw it on Facebook, but I don't know if it's on Pinterest. So I don't know who to give credit to for this recipe. So I'm sorry if you're out there and this is your recipe or you've used this a million times. But I think it's just amazing. And if you guys like spinach artichoke dip, like at Fridays or at Applebee's or something, then you will really like this chicken. If you like Italian food, you really like this chicken. I'm telling you, it is amazing. And it really is simple. Now we talk about cooking with disabilities. Almost all of this meal is all of this meal is prepped at the kitchen table. And it's cooked for about, you stand up for possibly 20 minutes, but you don't have to stand the whole time because you basically cook the chicken one side for 6 to 7 minutes. You could be sitting, turn it over, 6 to 7 minutes, you could be sitting, and then reduce the sauce for another few minutes. All right. So now into the same bowl, we're going to put the all of the cream cheese. When I was at Emmy's, we actually did block cream cheese. We softened it and everything, and then we wanted to double the recipe so we'd have extra dip. And she had the whipped cream cheese in there, and it worked great. So I just decided to opt for that this time. And then I'm going to put in the mozzarella cheese and the Parmesan cheese, as well as the tablespoon of garlic. Look, I had everything ready for you guys this time. And then what you want to do is you really want to mix this together really well. And I'm just using my rubber spatula. Forgive me when the camera shakes, but that's just me really getting into it. The things you just want to really incorporate it well. You don't need like a lot of muscle. You just need a lot of patience. And not even a lot, just a little. But just go ahead and mix it. And I was turning it over. You turn it over every once in a while so you could see if there's a big section of just cream cheese, a section of just spinach. You just really want to incorporate it well. I guess when you're making the dip as just the dip too, think about while you're eating it, you know. You might really, you know, want to make sure that you get a little bit of everything in each bite. So what I just did there is I added a little salt. I knew that the artichokes aren't too salty. The spinach isn't salty at all, but the cheese is. So if you need to watch your salt intake, I don't think you need to salt this, but we did because, you know, we don't care. That's not true. It's just not an issue for us. So the original recipe says you're going to use all of this dip, but when we made it at Emily's, we realized we didn't. We used about half, and we had doubled it there, so we had like 3/4 left over. So I'm going to reserve half in another bowl, and I'm going to bake that off like dip later. But the reason you want to do that is even if you are going to use all of it to stuff your chicken, set it aside because the spoon that you use to scoop it out is going to touch raw chicken and then go back in the dip. So even though you're going to bake the dip, you don't want to contaminate it with raw chicken. Okay? So now what I'm doing is I'm putting the chicken breasts on a plate and I'm going to season them. Season them before you cut them up. And I'll show you, we're not going to cut them up, it's not the right word, before you cut the pockets into them, okay? So first thing I want to do is, we've talked about this before, you want to put the biggest, fattest seasoning on first. So we're going to do the Italian seasoning first. Pepper, paprika, salt, pepper, salt, and paprika in that order. And then just turn them over. So I basically put half on one side, half on the other. Now, obviously, if you're not that crazy about Italian seasoning, if you have something that you would prefer instead, just garlic and onion powder, I'm sure that would be delicious on here. There is something about the Italian seasoning, though, that does really add to the dip. The paprika is, like I said, optional in the beginning, but really any of the seasonings are optional. Now, full disclosure, the seasonings will get nice and dark, and it almost look like you're burning your chicken, but you're not. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the pockets in them. So now this is probably where the skill lies the most. Just like when we fillet them, you want to lay them flat, put your hand on it, press down, and then gently put the tip of your knife in to make a pocket. Now again, if you feel more comfortable using just your paring knife, using just a kitchen shear, you go ahead and you do that. Just make sure you don't cut straight through to the other side of the chicken breast. And if you do, you just toothpick both sides. I mean, it really isn't the end of the world. It's just better this way because you won't have your cheese oozing out all over. So now I'm taking what's probably equivalent to 2 to 4 tablespoons of dip. And you can see I'm just using my Dollar Tree rubber spatula to fill it in there. And then you want to put toothpicks in to close it up. So what I kind of do is I cut the pocket. Okay, and if I find the pocket's a little thinner on one side, I go ahead and I fix it. So what if your chicken is cut up on the inside of your pocket? Your company's not going to see it, or your family's not going to see it. If you need to move a layer of chicken over, move a layer of chicken over. So now, as I fill it, then I kind of take it and I'm kind of closing it. And use your fingers. Go ahead. You're going to wash your hands anyway. Take the toothpicks, and you can either try to weave the toothpicks in and out. You could just stick them straight up and down. And then when I put them back onto the plate to bring them to the pan, I'm going to keep them standing up on their end, okay? Now, like once again, I mentioned in the beginning, I opted to remove the tenders from the chicken breasts already. If you've been around a while, you've watched me butcher chicken before. While I'm on the second to last stuffing, my cohort went ahead and he put the frying pan with 2 tablespoons of oil in it on medium-high heat. He actually put it a little higher than medium-high, and it ended up cooking the seasonings a little faster, but you'll see that in a minute. I ended up removing the tenders. Now, you don't have to. The chicken breast will be bigger and you may end up using more stuffing. But I found proportionally wise, this is a lot of food. When we ate this at Emily's house, we didn't have, actually, when I ate it last night, I didn't have anything else with it. So it's kind of like a good high protein meal. It's just so filling. It has vegetables in it, and it's obviously got the cheese in it. And it's in a whole chicken breast. I mean, that's a half a pound. If you think about it, 2 pounds of chicken is only 4 breasts. Each one's a half pound. So it's a lot of food. Then you have your assistant carry them over to the stove. My assistant with his poor little wrist guard. Okay, so now once I've got the frying pan hot, you want the oil to just start to shimmer. This is canola oil I've decided to use because a couple of reasons. It's got low smoke point, and this does have to cook for a while. And canola, of course, also doesn't add any flavor to the chicken. I felt it was flavorful enough. Because you have to cook it so long, cooking it in olive oil probably wouldn't be my suggestion, because it does tend to burn over the time. Okay, so now in the pan, this is my straight-sided skillet. This is a 12-inch skillet, I want to say, and you basically put all of your chicken on one side, cook it for 6 to 7 minutes, which of course we're going to fast forward here because who wants to watch this pan for 6 to 7 minutes? Raise your hand if you want to watch this pan cook this chicken for 6 to 7 minutes. Anybody? Anybody? Nope. Nope. Okay. You know, it's like even at high speed, do you want to watch this chicken cook for 3.5 to 4 minutes? No. My pan, I wanted to show you as I just turned it. My oven has got like a tilt on it. It's kind of leaning towards the left a little bit, which oddly enough makes like the left side of my frying pan cook faster than the right side of my frying pan. So just like when I'm baking in the oven, I make sure that I turn it as I'm cooking, okay? And then what's really great about this meal is, like I said, you put this chicken on and you can sit down for 5 minutes. 30 seconds to get to the chair, 30 seconds to get back to the pan, because you want to do 6 minutes per side, okay? Now you want to make sure you got a pan that you can cover, because we're going to cover this when we flip it over, all right? And then we're going to let it sit again. I actually opted to stand here because I don't want anything to happen to the camera. Every once in a while when I cook, steam will fog up the camera, and I don't want you guys to miss out on the cooking. So here we are, we're turning it over and trying to keep the direction, like basically so they all fit in the pan properly. And then we'll get the cover. You should probably cover it right away, as the instructions say, but I don't know. I started browning it first before I put the cover on. And then, like, fast forward to 6 minutes. Let's get the pan out, Jim. Yeah, let's cover it. Come on, Jim, get the pan. What? This is me reading the recipe. Oh, I'm supposed to cover it now? But anyway, so, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm cracking myself up. It's so weird. And again, we don't want to sit here and watch this chicken steam up this pan for 6 to 7 minutes. So we're going to work in fast forward world. But the recipe actually says brown the chicken on one side, brown the chicken on the other side, cover it, and cook until the chicken is done. And I'm not kidding. And then she adds approximately 6 to 7 minutes per side. Now, no. To be honest with you, I like time. I know you guys like time too. But what I did realize is a few things. You can't give time on this. How thick was the chicken when you bought it? How much stuffing did you put in it? Did you cut the tenders off or did you leave them on? And is your medium high the same as my medium high? So all of these are factors in how long it will take your chicken to cook. So in all honesty, this actually needed more than the 6 minutes. I actually ended up cooking it for 7 minutes on one side and then about 8 or 9 minutes on the other side, before I went ahead and added the milk to make the sauce. All right. Now I'm checking the internal temperature of my chicken. This is how I knew that I wanted to cook it more. That thermometer did not move at all. I asked Jim for an instant read thermometer for Christmas. I was like, you know what you can get me? An instant read thermometer like they have on the food shows. You know, Alton Brown or America's Test Kitchen, they have those instant read. Boy, you put that in there, bloop, time goes. Because you think about it, it's a good thing to have, because you think about it, you're standing there with your oven open trying to take the temperature of something and all the heat's leaving your oven. Same thing with covering on a stove. You know, you want to check your temperature and go on. Okay? So like I said, this thermometer took forever to read that this chicken wasn't cooked yet. So I just stuck it in the little spout of the lid. Don't quote me on how to do that, because that's not how you do it. But anyhow, once you have it all done, then we're going to make the sauce. So what I have prepped ahead of time is a cup of whole milk. The recipe says you can use milk or half and half. I've never tried it with half and half, but I'm sure half and half is delicious. But you really don't need it, because when you add the rest of the dip into this sauce, it thickens up amazingly. So the dip that we stuffed the chicken with is leftover. Half of that left over is what we're going to make the sauce with, okay? So pour the milk in, deglaze the pan. I got a little whisk out. Whisk it up, lower the heat before it boils over on you. Actually, I didn't lower the heat. I take that back. What I did was I added the cold cheese in right away. So I'm just deglazing the pan. I'm getting all those like little crispy bits off the bottom, which also helps. Deglazing the pan also helps when you're at the dishwasher. I'm just saying. And as soon as it started to come to a boil, we dumped in the rest of the dip. Now, this isn't the dip that we reserved in the beginning. This is the dip that was left over from stuffing the chicken. Okay? And we're just going to put it in there, and we're going to whisk it around. We're going to cook it through. There's nothing raw in here. I mean, the spinach and artichoke hearts are marinated, but I mean, there's no eggs in here, right? You don't have to like cook it to a certain temperature. So what we're just basically going to do is we're going to whisk it until it becomes a nice thick sauce. Now, again, like I said, this is optional. And when she tells you in the original recipe is if you don't want the sauce, only make half of the dip. But we love the sauce. And when I made it at Emily's, we didn't put the sauce on the chicken. We kept them separately. But I loved it so much that I went ahead and did it. So if you want the sauce, you go ahead and you can either serve it on the side or you return the chicken to the pan, cover it for about 3 or 4 minutes, and then you can like I said, make sure your chicken's cooked through, and then go ahead and serve it. So here is what it looks like without any sauce on it. And it looks delicious, doesn't it? The cheese just oozes right out. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. But then we're going to go ahead and add some beautiful sauce to it. Oh, this sauce is so delicious. I can't take it. I absolutely love this meal. And Emily, if you're watching, thank you so much for introducing it to me. I never in a million years would have seen it because we have different Facebook groups. And I never saw it on Pinterest. So I'm just saying, thanks, sweetie. I love you. And I hope you guys really enjoy this recipe. If you try it, please let me know how you like it. If you have any questions at all, I mean, even the tiniest question, please let me know in the comments down below. Share with friends and family, anybody you know who loves an easy chicken dish that's elegant and delicious and does not seem like it took less than a half an hour with less than $20 worth of ingredients for 4 people. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe. And when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. Don't forget to take out your toothpicks. And let me know also what you decide to serve this with, because I would really like to know. Like I said, just had the chicken. And I had leftovers tonight, so I'm just saying. All right? And as always, you guys, you take care. God bless. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Bon appetit.